He nearly pushed Mick into the wall in Baku. You know, Mick is a very calm guy, but even he was swearing on the radio like, I can't deal with this man anymore. They nearly had a Lewis Nico incident from 2016. I can't even think of any positives really that he's actually done this year. Hi everyone, it's Keira and welcome back to my channel. So, Nikita Mazepin, as we know, was a very touchy driver to begin with, even before he came into Formula 1. But he said before the season he will let his driving and on-track action do the talking. So I thought now that we're about a third into the season, I would sit down, take a look at his season so far, all of his performances, and see really how well he's done. So before I get into the video, if you do enjoy it, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below. But let's just get into it and see what we think about Nikita's F1 career so far. So obviously we can look at Nikita from the word go and realise that he was a pay driver. He came 5th, I believe, I can't even remember, 5th in the F2 Championship last year with High Tech. I mean, he had a good year, but at the same time he was a very dangerous driver. I think he was a couple of race points off a ban. That's how, you know, dangerous and reckless he was being. And we all know the saga of him basically taking the seat off Callum Ilott, who came 2nd in the championship last year. So already he was, you know, a little bit of a touch and go driver, and he was somebody which was, you know, not in everyone's good books. And then we know he had an incident over the winter where I can't really say the words on here because I don't want to get demonetized, but we all know the situation he had with a girl, which was disgusting. Anyway, Nikita, you know, apologised, went forward, and we got into the 2021 season, and he came out with a bold claim saying, I will let my on-track performances do the talking. So we were like, okay, let's see what he can do. You know, it's a big step up going into F1 machinery, but let's see what he can do. So let's have a little look, shall we? First, I'm going to dip into qualifying. Now we know that the Haas is the Haas is the worst car on the grid this year, and it's very difficult to drive. So I'm going to compare him to his teammate Mick Schumacher, who won the F2 Championship last year and made the step up to F1 as a rookie as well. So I'm going to compare them together, so it gives you more of a comparative answer than me comparing him to somebody else. And they're the two that are consistently at the back. Anyway, so let's have a look at his qualifying results. In Bahrain, he was last, and he was 8 tenths off Mick. In Italy, he was last, 5 tenths off Mick. Portugal, he was last, 5 tenths off Mick. Spain, last, 9 tenths off Mick. In Monaco, Mick did crash in qualifying, but he was 6 tenths off Nicholas Latifi, who was 2nd to last. Baku, he was last by 1/10 to Mick Schumacher. In France, he was last of the people that actually finished qualifying, and he was 6 tenths off Mick. And the race we have just had is the Styrian Grand Prix, and he was 1/10 off Mick. So, as you can see by that, it's not the best. I mean, a lot of the time he is about, I'd probably say, I mean, I haven't done an actual average, but I would say he probably averages at about half a second off the pace of Mick Schumacher. Sometimes he is 1/10 off, sometimes he is 9 tenths off, but most of the time he is off. He's never out-qualified Mick Schumacher, and I just don't understand how you could be that far off. It's not even like you've got that, you know, experienced teammate. Like if we had Kevin Magnussen next to him or Romain Grosjean, I could understand. But the fact that Mick has come straight into this car and he is, you know, developing with the car and he is pushing out of the car and getting everything out of it, Nikita really does not have an excuse. Anyway, let's go into his race post, see what he's been doing in the races, see if he's been doing anything exciting or brilliant. So we kicked off the season in Bahrain, and he crashed in the first couple of corners, completely just lost the car and went into the barriers, caused a safety car. That was the first race of his F1 career done. Then we moved on to Italy. He was last of the runners, 2 laps down. Mick was also 2 laps down, but P last. Portugal, again, last of the runners, 2 laps down. Spain, again, last of the runners, 2 laps down, the same as Mick. Monaco, 2nd to last, 3 laps down. Mick was actually last in this scenario. Baku, he was P14, but we know that Baku was crazy. We had that little sprint race at the end. France, he was 1 lap down and he was last again. And then at the Styrian Grand Prix, he was last again, 3 laps down. So, I mean, it's difficult because he's always last, and you know, as much as Mick is always there or thereabouts and he might be a similar lap down, sometimes Nikita is a lap further down than Mick Schumacher in the same machinery. Don't understand how you can do that. I really physically don't understand how you can be that far behind. So looking at that, initially qualifying pace is not good, race pace is not good, but now let's get on to the juicy stuff, okay, which is his spins. Now we can see on Twitter, I think he's got a whole actual web page as well, which is when did Nikita last spin, all the situations of when he has spun, and there's been a few of them. I'm going to highlight some of them. We can't be sitting here looking at them all, but the first one we have got is Bahrain. He honestly spans so many times in Bahrain. A lot of the time he's just losing the back end of the car and just wiggling around, spinning around. I don't know what happened. There's not like an obvious spin, but he just kept spinning. One of the main ones was in Q1. He broke the gentleman's agreement by going past everybody at the last corner and proceeding to dive bomb his way down into turn 1, completely outbrake himself, spin around and cause a yellow flag, and nobody can complete their laps. So that was really great so far. You know, your first qualifying session, and that's what you do. And then obviously in the race he had that spin, as I mentioned earlier, straight into the barriers, and that was the end of his race. Within the first 5 minutes of FP1 in Imola, he had spun off and was into the wall, broke his front wing. I believe he spun twice in that session. So, I mean, second race, you're still spinning again. I think, you know, looking at Mick Schumacher, Mick doesn't make the same mistakes. Yeah, the car is very edgy. Mick has made some bigger mistakes, I'd say, in terms of the car damage, but Nikita's just spinning and spinning and spinning. Like, why are you spinning this much? It can't be that difficult. I mean, it can, but it can't, because Mick can do it. FP3 in Portugal, after a few minutes, he was in the gravel. He had spun off again. 2 minutes into the Spanish FP1, he had also spun again. We had Baku FP1 before the end. He had spun again. So it's constant. Like, I think at every race weekend so far, he has had a spin, and that just shouldn't be happening when you are meant to be a Formula 1 driver and at that level where you can compete in this machinery. Now, so far in 2021, it is estimated that he has cost the team £651,000. But again, as I said earlier, Mick has been costing a lot more for the team. In Mick's repairs, he has cost the team 1.9 million. So actually, Nikita isn't doing too bad in terms of the finance department, because again, his spins are ones that he tends to catch, and they're also ones that he might just break a front wing or something. He's never actually heavily crashed, I don't think, other than that first Bahrain incident. So as much as the spins are very funny, I think they're funny because they are just little ones that he's spinning all the time, but he's not actually costing the team too much money. But again, he's still costing them more than Haas really can afford. Now, the next thing we're going to go on to is Nikita Mazepin quite simply getting in the way. Okay, this has become, again, a big thing in the Formula 1 community, where he is just getting in the way of every single driver. So let's take a little look of the situations and see who he has annoyed so far in his first couple of races. In Imola Q1, he came right up the inside of Giovinazzi going up into turn 1 and completely squeezed both of them. You know, Giovinazzi was like, what is this guy doing? Get out of my way. So really unnecessary incident. Not really sure why he was trying to race in qualifying, but maybe he just wanted to get past, but squeezing each other was not the option. Giovinazzi called him stupid, and as we head over to Portugal in Q1, Latifi called him an idiot because he got in his way in Portugal as well. He was like, this guy's an idiot, what is Mazepin doing? Also in Portugal, Checo called him a bloody idiot. Very British for Checo, I love that. So it's just stupid things, like he's getting in the way for stupid things, and these people are like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. Charles Leclerc in an FP2 session has said Mazepin will never change, which is quite funny because that's what he said to Kevin Magnussen before in Suzuka. He was like, Mazepin will never change. And he's literally said this about Mazepin. And you know, that's quite a big thing, because he said Mazepin will never change. So he knows the reputation of this man. You know, this grid knows the reputation of how this man is coming across, and he's proven that being in this F1 paddock, being in these practice sessions and just getting in the way. We also had an FP3 session in Barcelona where Nikita quite simply just literally came into Lance Stroll, and they nearly had a Lewis Nico incident from 2016. Like, he just wasn't watching what he was doing. Lance was flipping him off straight away, proper hand gestures coming up, and Lance was like, he has no idea what he's doing. And that is quite true, especially with these blue flags. Even Nikita himself has said, I need a couple more races to get used to the blue flags, which for me, I really don't understand. That shouldn't be the bit that you should be trying to work on. I think it's quite easy that when you see the blue flag, you need to move out of the way. I think it's within the next 3 blue flags you see. It's quite easy to just get off the racing line, but for some reason Nikita just doesn't seem to understand this. We did have an incident a couple of years ago where the Haas guys were saying, we do not tell our drivers when, you know, there's a car upcoming. So hopefully they've changed that, because especially with Nikita and Mick both being rookies, they need to do something. So there's been so many incidents where Nikita has just got in people's way, and he just doesn't seem to understand the concept of getting out of the way, and also blue flags, and also just unnecessarily driving past somebody in the most awkward position. And he needs to learn that quick, but he doesn't seem like he actually cares. So overall, how I would conclude Nikita Mazepin's start of his F1 season so far is quite awful, to be honest with you. He is consistently last. There is no battle between the Haas drivers, because Mick is always ahead, whether that's in the race or whether that's in qualifying. He's just always one step ahead of him. There is no battle. He's making so many mistakes. I don't think we've ever seen a driver come into this sport and do so bad. Like I think this just proves even more that he's not ready to use this machinery. Whether he will ever be ready, I really don't think so. He doesn't understand the concept of blue flags, which is a very big thing, because he's really getting in the way of actually, you know, the main part of the race, and he just doesn't seem to get it. And, you know, maybe I could have given him a little bit of leeway if it would have been the first couple of races, and then he'd be like, no, I understand my mistakes, I'm gonna fix them. But he just doesn't seem to care. Like, he really just doesn't seem to understand the severity of his spins, his unnecessary overtakes, his blue flag drama, his drama with Mick. Can we just point out this, when he nearly pushed Mick into the wall in Baku? You know, Mick is a very calm guy, but even he was swearing on the radio like, I can't deal with this man anymore. Has to not want another repeat of how they did with Kevin and Roman on track. So we can't have this with Nikita. But quite frankly, he seems to not really care too much, and he's just going around doing his business, and it's quite worrying. So if I was to rate him out of 10, I would probably give him like a 1 or a 2. I can't even think of any positives really that he's actually done this year to warrant me giving him any higher result. So there we have it. That is it for today's video, and that is kind of my round out of how Nikita Mazepin's F1 career has gone so far. For his sake and our sake, I really do hope that he picks it up a little bit, because I genuinely can't watch a guy so awful in that car any longer. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about Nikita's season so far. I'd be really interested to get everybody else's opinions, and if you do like the guy, if you don't like the guy, if you like what he's doing on the track, if you don't like what he's doing on the track, I want to know. But yeah, thanks again for watching the video. If you do enjoy it, like and subscribe, and I will see you again soon for a brand new video. Bye!